Hello everybody, welcome back to
Tabletop and Tacticus!
Basecoat. What am I on about? Simple. Every time I was working on the first episode, I went on so many tangents that each could be an episode itself. So that's what this is. Today I'm going to explain damage! Dealing damage is a core part of each game, but how it's dealt is very different between them. I consider Tacticus damage to be quick and complicated, while tabletop damage is slow and simple. In Tacticus, you click here, and then boom! A dozen calculations are calculated and big numbers happen. In Tabletop, you roll a bucket of dice, pick out the bad dice, roll the good dice, numbers, tell them how much damage they took, roll, and then after all of that, you pick your next target. That may sound more complicated, but that's just because you have to do it all manually. So let's break them both down together and I'll show you what I mean. As an example, let's take Karn's Betrayer and Toth, the Scarab Occult Terminator. Now there's a lot of numbers all over, but let's focus on damage, pierce ratio, and armor. Damage is how much damage you deal per attack, plus or minus 20%. Armor reduces the damage you take per hit before the pierce ratio. Pierce ratio shows how much your minimum damage per hit will be. So let's see this in action with some nice round numbers. 100 damage, 50% pierce ratio, 3 attacks, and 100 armor. Why 3 attacks? So we can show the base, max, and minimum damage all at once. First we'll start with how much damage each hit does. Then we multiply it by the pierce ratio to show what our minimum damage is. Then we subtract the armor from the base damage. As you can see, the damage is much lower than the pierce ratio, so the pierce damage is dealt in this case. Now let's see with the damage stat of 200. So, same thing. Check the pierce, subtract the armor, and compare. And then the highest damage between the two is dealt. So that's how the base damage is calculated. Now let's talk about crits and blocks. They work the same as each other, but for opposite reasons. When you have a crit chance or block chance, the game will roll to see if you deal extra damage when you hit, or have extra armor when you get hit. When you crit, it adds the listed damage to that first hit, then rolls again until you fail. Let's say you have 5 hits. The game rolls and the first hit crits and starts the chain, so it rolls again. The second hit crits, but the third one doesn't, so the game stops rolling. The remaining hits do not roll. Blocks work the same way, just with armor instead of damage. Now you may get lucky and every hit crits, or you may get unlucky and it breaks the chain after the first hit. So that's how damage works in Tacticus. And I haven't even gotten into abilities and bonus damage from other characters. Like I said, quick and complicated. Alright, now let's get into Tabletop. This is the datasheet for Scarab Occult Terminators. We'll stick a pin in movement, leadership, and objective control for now, and make videos for those later. Today we're going to focus on the defensive stats. Toughness is how hard something is to destroy. From Toughness 1 Spore Mines, to a Toughness 12 Chaos Knight Tyrant, or Toughness 14 Stompa. Wounds are the hit points of each model. 3 might not seem like much, but when most anti-infantry guns deal 1 or 2 damage, it's a lot. Your saves are how good your armor is at taking a hit. Next to the stats of the models are the stats of the weapons they use. Range, attack, weapon skill, strength, AP, and damage. This is a melee weapon, so it has a range of melee. Attacks are how many shots are fired or how many times you can swing your weapon. This is how many dice you get to roll per attack. Weapon skill or ballistic skill is how accurate you are with the weapon. This is the number you have to roll in order for your attacks to land. Strength is the opposite of toughness. You compare the 2 numbers to see what you need to roll to wound the enemy. Check the chart. It shows you what you need to roll to wound your enemy. If your strength is double the enemy's toughness, you just need a 2 or higher, or a 2 up. If it's higher but not double, then it's a 3 up. If it's equal, then it's 4 up. Less is 5 up, and half is wounding on a 6. If you're new, I would recommend getting a printout of a sheet like this. Last is damage. How many wounds are dealt by each hit? Karn here may be able to deal up to 24 wounds in a turn, but he can only take out 8 models per turn. This harpoon may be bigger than a Space Marine, but with 1 shot, if you shoot it at 2 grots, it'll only pop 1 of them. Alright, with all the stats explained, let's show it all in practice by walking through a turn of combat. Karn is charged into this group of scarabs, so it's time for the fight phase. Check his number of attacks and grab a d6 for each of them. We roll the 8d6 to see how many hits land, and on a 2-up, 7 of them hit. We ask our opponent the toughness of the scarabs, and they say T5. We compare our strength to their toughness and check the chart. We need a 3-up. So we roll the 7 hits, and 6 of them wound. Now our opponent will take 66 and ask what our AP is. It's AP2. Their armor is a 2-up save, but with an AP2, it makes it a 4-up save. This throws me off sometimes because 2 minus 2 is 0, not 4. But no, rolling a 4-up is much harder than rolling a 2-up. Anyway, now they roll and get 3 saves, so 3 attacks go through. Each attack deals 3 damage, and each scarab has 3 wounds, so that takes out 3 scarabs. Now the scarabs have a chance to hit back after everything else. The 2 scarabs have 3 attacks each, so we run it through again the other way. 4 of the 6 attacks hit, and 3 of the 4 hits wound. One difference here is armor penetration. Karn's armor is a 3-up, and the scarabs have AP2. That puts his armor to a 5-up, but because he has a 4-up invuln, that's the worst his armor will be. You fail 2 saves and take 4 damage, leaving Karn alive with 1 wound. So yeah, that's the fight phase. Now something I should mention. Anytime I tell you a rule about Tabletop, imagine I'm also saying, unless that model or army has an ability that says otherwise. Because if I say it myself, that would be over half of every script. For example, you roll a d6 to see how far you advance.
Unless you don't.
You can't shoot or charge after you fall back.
Unless you can.
Charging units fight first.
Unless they don't.
You get the point. So that's the basics of damage for both games. There's a lot of extra bits and bobs between each, but that's enough to get started. Next time we'll go over movement, advancing, and charging. Should be a much shorter topic. Use the code HOTDAMAGE in Tacticus for some free stuff in-game, and feel free to drop any questions you have about either game in the comments. I honestly love talking about this stuff. But that's enough for today. Hopefully I'll see you next time on
Tabletop and Tacticus!